Okay, English comprehension for full mock 12. I have read through the passage already, so I'm going to go through some of the answers here. Why might excessive smartphone use lead to increased levels of anxiety and depression in children? So we've got an area in the passage that talks about that. Several studies have shown excessive use, particularly using social media basically, can be linked to high levels of anxiety, depression and low self-esteem, and then it explains here, right after it, exactly why. So, platforms often present a distorted view of reality, where everything looks perfect. So this is one of the reasons. Everything looks perfect on social media. You've got filtered photos, endless comparisons from these curated lifestyles as well, and that ends up giving this constant exposure to unrealistic standards that can be incredibly damaging. So we've got lots of information there, and if we look at all of these options here, the only one that matches any of that information is option B, where a child might constantly be comparing themselves to unrealistic portrayals on social media, exactly what they were saying in the passage. The other options are not mentioned anywhere on the passage. Question 2, what is the primary reason parents might feel reassured by their children having smartphones? So we've got we've got some information, I believe it's somewhere around here. It does talk about, so right here it says, smartphones allow parents to stay in touch with children, providing peace of mind, which is basically the same, another way of saying reassurance, right? Especially in emergencies, right? So basically children can contact their parents in emergencies. That seems to be the main reason they feel reassured. So it's not to make them more popular at school. It's not to allow parents to monitor every move of the child, but for them to be able to quickly contact them in case of an emergency, right? So smartphones will improve children's academic performance. It does say that in the passage, but that's not why they feel reassured. Okay. Question 3, how might smartphones negatively impact children's ability to focus on schoolwork? Again, that's in the passage. It says right here, they can be major forms of distraction. Games, social media and other forms of entertainment are just one tap away, so they're very accessible. And it's easy for children to get sidetracked during study time or even in class. So that's why they might negatively impact children's ability to focus, because they can get distracted easily, which is basically the opposite of focus, right? So A is the best answer there. Games and social media can distract children. The rest of them, again, if you look at the other ones, don't even match. So smartphones, none of these are mentioned in the passage. Question 4, why would limiting screen time be beneficial for children? What we've got over here is limiting screen time. So if we look at the context here, basically it says this could involve setting clear boundaries in smartphone use. What are they talking about? It says basically don't ban smartphones outright, but use a more balanced strategy. And that balanced strategy could involve setting clear boundaries around smartphone use, such as limiting screen time, and encouraging a mix of activities such as outdoor play, reading and creative hobbies. So this idea is basically limit screen time so they can do other stuff with their lives rather than just be on their phone all day. So if we look at the options here, this is the best option there, because it says encourages a balance between screen use and other activities. That's exactly what it mentions here. Now, it helps children avoid the risk of cyberbullying. It does mention cyberbullying in the passage, but it doesn't talk about screen time in the context of cyberbullying. So you have to see where it talks about screen time, which is right here, and then look at what context, like or what point they're trying to get across in this actual paragraph, right? So that's why it won't be B. It ensures that children spend all their time studying. It never says anything like that in the passage. It makes smartphones more interesting. Again, not mentioned in the passage. So C is the best option here. What does the rise of cyberbullying suggest about the impact for smartphones on social behavior? Okay, so we have to look for cyberbullying in the passage. So the rise of cyberbullying is a powerful argument for limiting or monitoring children's use of smartphones. But basically what it says here is the anonymity of the internet allows bullies to harass and intimidate without fear of facing immediate consequences. So basically bullying can be more severe. So if we look at the options here again, what does the rise of cyberbullying suggest about the impact of smartphones on social behaviour? The passage is basically mentioning that the fact that you're anonymous on the internet, so people don't know who you are, it can make bullying more severe, is what it mentioned in the passage. And that can obviously lead to negative behaviours, which is the same sort of same sort of phrasing, right? It's just using a different word. So the rise of cyberbullying suggests that the anonymity of the internet is what's causing it, right? So smartphones make people friendlier, that's not mentioned. Smartphones are too complicated for children to use, again, that's not mentioned. And children are more likely to make friends online, not mentioned, right? So the impact of smartphones on social behaviour, basically smartphones have led to more negative behaviour occurring, especially on the internet. Question 6, why might smartphones be considered a double-edged sword? So when you say something is a double-edged sword, that means there is a benefit and a drawback to it, so there's good and bad of it. So a double-edged sword in education, well, let's look at the passage. What it says in here is they can be useful tools for learning because of the educational apps, online resources and digital tools, but they can also be major distractions, which we already went over. So there's the benefit of these, and there's also the drawback of distractions. So let's look at what options it says. They only provide engagement and entertainment. Sorry, that's not true. They are too expensive for schools to afford. That's not mentioned. They replace teachers in the classroom. That is not mentioned. They can help and hinder learning. That's the best option here. Again, that's literally what double-edged means. It means there's a good side and a bad side to it. Question 7. What inference can be made about the relationship between screen time and sleep quality in children? So if we look at the first few paragraphs where it talks about children can easily get caught up in late night scrolling. This can lead to poor sleep habits because they end up scrolling their phone instead of sleeping, right? And they have to wake up early in the morning, and that can in turn affect mood, concentration and overall well-being. Lack of sleep is harmful for growing children, etc, etc. So let's look at the options for question 7. Using smartphones before bed can disrupt children's sleep patterns. Increased screen time has no impact on sleep. Smartphones help children fall asleep faster. That's not mentioned. And it does say that there is an impact. Children use smartphones to track their sleep. Again, not mentioned. Using smartphones before bed can disrupt a child's sleep pattern is mentioned in the passage. Like we said, they're more likely to end up in a late night scrolling session or gaming session that might end up disrupting their sleep. Question 8. Why might children struggle with developing empathy if they rely heavily on digital communication? So again, we have to look for that section in the passage. Empathy is mentioned right here. Face-to-face communication helps children develop important skills like empathy. And what it's talking about before this section on the passage is that texting and video chats may be convenient, but they lack the depth and richness of real-life interaction. So it's basically saying it's hard to, there's not enough depth in these online interactions to develop social skills like empathy as well. So if we look at question 8, texting improves empathy skills. That's not what it says. It says the opposite of that, actually. Digital communication is more effective than in-person communication. Again, not what it says. Face-to-face communication is more effective at teaching social cues. Again, that's what it is saying, right? It's saying that face-to-face has a level of depth that improves their ability children's ability to sort of learn social skills. And question, I think option D says children do not need empathy to communicate online. While you could sort of infer that, that's not particularly what it's trying to say. It's saying that it stops the development of empathy, and it clearly thinks that empathy is important for children. So question 9, what is one possible consequence of children becoming accustomed to instant gratification from smartphones? So what does instant gratification mean? If you get something instantly, that obviously means you're getting it very quickly. Gratification sort of means pleasure, so you're getting instant pleasure from your smartphone because you can open your phone and get something very quickly, right? So we have to find that in the passage again. So right here, this distraction can lead to lower academic performance, reduced attention spans, and a decline in critical thinking skills, because basically the children are becoming more accustomed to instant gratification and quick answers. So basically you're able to open Google and get your answer immediately, rather than engaging deeply or deep engagement with challenging problems. So instead of spending a lot of time to try and figure out something, your attention span is reduced, is what this is saying, and you're more used to instant gratification. So let's see what the options are saying here, what the consequence of instant gratification can be. They become more patient and thoughtful. That's the opposite. They might struggle with long-term tasks that require sustained focus. That seems to match very well with what you're saying. They become better at multitasking, not mentioned. They lose interest in technology altogether. That's not mentioned. Again, it says that it could reduce your attention span or hinder your focus, right? Question 10. Why might banning smartphones outright not be the most effective solution? Smartphones are the only way children can learn. Children would rebel against a ban. Smartphones are too expensive to ban. Banning smartphones ignores the benefits they offer in education and safety. So if we look at the option, if we look at the text here, it says, where was the section about banning? It says so basically there are benefits and potential risks of smartphones, right? And that is, if we keep reading on, basically that means that we shouldn't give them unrestricted access, is what it says. But instead of banning it outright, it's better to use a balanced strategy, so you can get the benefits and without the risks, is the idea, right? So if we look at question 10, option D would be the best option there. Question 11. What does the word allure most likely mean in the context of smartphones as distractions? So this word isn't in the passage. It seems to be asking us particularly about just if we were to use this word in the context, what would it mean? Well, allure means sort of like, let's say you're allured into going to, or you're allured by like chocolate, you're like attracted towards eating this really nice chocolate. That's sort of what it would look like, right? So allure is not unpleasantness, it's not confusion or boredom, it's attraction to smartphones. So you're sort of moving towards, you always want to use one, right? That's sort of what an allure would be. Question 12. What is the best definition of critical thinking as mentioned in relation to smartphone use? Okay, so this one is mentioned in the passage. Critical thinking skills as children become more accustomed to instant gratification. So critical thinking skills, it seems to mention that, the reason it seems to decline is because people are not used to deep engagement with challenging problems. If you look at this section, that's connected to it. So let's see what the options here say. Accepting ideas without question, that isn't critical thinking. That's like the opposite. That's sort of what it's pushing against, right? Quick decision making process, again, it's not quick. Like the whole point of this is that if you lose your critical thinking skills, it's probably due to being accustomed to quick answers, right? So ability to analyze and evaluate information deeply, that matches the best. A casual approach to problem solving, that doesn't match very well. So this is again what the idea of the sentence that we've just read above. Question 13, which sentence is correctly punctuated? Smartphones can be both useful and distracting for children. Smartphones can be both useful and distracting for children. Smartphones can be useful and distracting for children. Smartphones can be both useful and distracting. It's basically depending on where the comma goes. So the first one, smartphones, and then a pause, can be both useful and distracting. That is an unnecessary comma there. Smartphones can be both useful, and there's also unnecessary to put a comma before the and. It's not incorrect, but if we're going to look for which is correctly punctuated, like the best option out of these four, B is not that. Smartphones can be both useful and distracting, comma for children. That would that's not getting across the same point. There's no reason basically to pause before for children, right? So that leaves us with option D. We don't really need any commas in this actual sentence. Question 14, which word correctly completes the sentence, keeping the context of the passage in mind? So parents should set clear boundaries, which seems to match the best for their children's smartphone use. Parents shouldn't set clear boundaries, that doesn't match the passage. Parents whether, that doesn't make sense. And parents can't, again, that doesn't match the passage, so the answer here should be A. Okay, question 15. Neither of the options are suitable for the project we're working on. That's the only one that matches. Is and were and being wouldn't work. Okay, had she known about the event, she would attended, that doesn't work. Will won't work. Had would have is the one that works because it's in the past tense, and not the past tense, sorry, it's future. But also you've got attended, so you need have as well. It is the past tense, my fault. Okay, the report must be completed by Friday, or it won't be considered for review, and it won't be considered for review, but so it won't be considered for review. Yep, none of these will fit into that sentence other than or. Question 18, the committee hopes to finalize the decision before the end of the meeting, that would be present. Hope wouldn't work, hoping wouldn't work. You'd need to have is hoping, and hopes, this is spelt wrong. Okay, question 19, by this time tomorrow they will finish their exams. And started, that wouldn't work. They will finish and started, doesn't make. They would finish their exams and started, again, that wouldn't work. They will have finished, that works. So the option will be C here. They have finished their exams and started their summer holidays. Yep, so they will have finished their exams and started their summer holidays. That is the one that works in this sentence. Everyone in the class, including the teacher. Question 20, everyone in the class, including the teacher, was excited about the upcoming trip. Again, the other ones don't work here. This is for plural. This is for, so this would be, yeah, this is for, and that just doesn't fit. And R, you'd need to have, again, wouldn't work, basically. Question 21, identify the misspelt word. Choose E for no misspelt word. Okay. The unforeseen consequences caused major disruptions across the entire local business community. So unforeseen needs an E here. Unforeseen. So option A is the mistake here. Unfortunately, in question 22, needs an E here as well. So option A. The project was delayed until. There shouldn't be two L's in until. So option B for this one. The dog's vicious attack. There should not be an S in vicious, right? That needs to be crossed out. So we get A. It was a weird day. It should be EI for weird, right? So option A for this one. Identify the punctuation error. Okay, we plan to visit Rome next summer. Venice, Florence and Milan are also on the list. So this semicolon should be a colon. If we're putting a list right after it, it should be a semicolon. So option B is the mistake there. Question 27. She shouted, comma, I can't believe you forgot the tickets for the concert. Well, she's shouting here, right? And that means there should be an exclamation mark here. And additionally, the full stop should be inside the quotation mark. So there are two real mistakes there. I mean, first of all, exclamation mark should be inside the quotation mark, and this full stop shouldn't be outside. Unless someone is being quoted. No one's being quoted here. This is actually someone saying a sentence, so there should be a punctuation mark inside the end of the speech that they've said, right? Question 28. During the presentation, comma, the speaker discussed climate change, technology, renewable energy, and global warming's impact. So you can see there's climate change, comma, technology, comma, renewable energy. It's a list. There needs to be commas there. So option C is the issue. Question 29. After the game ended, the players quickly left the field, comma, eager to celebrate their victory. Now, you might have noticed when you read that out loud, you say after the game ended, you want to pause there, right? So there should be a comma right here. After the game ended, the players quickly left the field, eager to celebrate their victory. So option A, there is a missing comma or any form of pause. We need it in there. My brother and I are excited to attend the concert we have been waiting for. Now you can see capital I, it's lowercase, it needs to be capital for option A. And that is the end of the English section. Okay, question 1 on the maths section. These diagrams show 3 equivalent fractions. Write in the missing values. We've been given answer options here. Okay, 1, 2, 3 out of 4 is the first one. This one is going to be, looks like 9 shaded out of 12. And this one is 3 times 6, which is 18 shaded out of 24. So this should be 12 and this should be 18. So 12 and 18, answer option D. Question 2. The number in the sequence decreased by the same amount each time. What is the next number in the sequence? Okay, so how much is it decreasing from here to here? By 1000, then by 1000, by 1000, and this one's going to decrease by 1000. That should give us 299,604. Circle the improper fraction that is equivalent to 6, 7 out of 10. Okay, so this is, you do the invisible times and the invisible plus. So 6 times 8, or 8 times 6, will give you 48. And then you add the 7, which will give you 56. Sorry, 55. And then you put that over 8, and there you go, 55 over 8. So you keep the denominator the same, you just do the invisible times and the invisible plus, and that should give you the answer. 55/8. Question 4. Here are the temperatures in the 4 cities at midnight and at midday. At midnight, how many degrees colder was Paris than Rome? So Paris is -4 degrees and Rome is 3 degrees. So the difference between -4 and 3, if you count up from 4, you go to -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? That's 7. If you counted that on your fingers, or you can just figure out that you add 4 to -4, you get to 0, and you add 3 to that, you'll get to 7. Question 5. Which city was 6 degrees colder at midnight than at midday? Okay, we have to look for a difference of 6. So this is 8 difference, this is 7. This is a difference of 6. If you add 6 to -13, you get -7. So Oslo is the correct answer. The children at Farmfield School are collecting money for charity. Their target is to collect £360. So far they collected £57.73. How much more money do they need to reach their target? Okay, so the difference between 57.73 and 360. Let's add first of all 27p to this, because that'll get us to £58, right? You could just do a subtraction, that's easier. I like to do it by working my way up. So if we added 27p, that'll get us to 58, and then what else do we have to add to 58 to get to 360? Well, we need to add another £2. That'll give us to 60. And then we need to add another £300. So these are all of the different numbers that we added to add: 300, £2 and 27p. To find the difference, we just add them all together. That will give us £302 and 27p, which is option C. Question 7. A box contains trays of melons. There are 15 melons in a tray. There are 3 trays in a box. Okay. So a box contains trays of melons. There are 15 melons in a tray. There are 3 trays in a box. Supermarket is selling 40 boxes of melons. How many melons does the supermarket sell? So this is how many melons is in one box, right? Because there's 15 melons in one tray and there are 3 trays in one box. It'll be 15 times 3. That gives us 45 melons in each box. They're selling 40 boxes of melon. That means 45 times 40. And easiest way to do that is do 10 times 40, which gives us 450, and then times that by 4, which will give us 1,800, which is option A. Question 8. These are some prices in a flower shop. Tulips for £1.20, roses for 40p, and daffodils for 55p for a bunch. Okay, how many roses can you buy for exactly £2? Okay, well we have to figure out how we can get from 40p to £2, how many of these can we fit in, which is basically 200p. £2 is 200p. So if we buy, let's say, well, we can actually just do 40 divided by 200, which is the easiest way. Alright, so how many times does 40 go into 200? 5 times. Because 40 times 5 is 200, and that means we can buy exactly 5 roses for 200p or £2. Question 9. Amy buys 1 bunch of tulips and 3 bunches of daffodils. How much does she pay altogether? Okay, 1 bunch of tulips, which is £1.20. 2 bunches of daffodils, or 3, sorry. So 3 bunches is it should be 165p. 1 bunch is obviously 120p or £1.20. Now if we add those together, that will give us 285p or £2.85, which is option D. Question 10. William wants to travel to Paris by train. He needs to arrive by 5:30 p.m. The latest time that William, what is the latest time that William can leave London? So 5:30 p.m. if we look at, this is the latest he can arrive in Paris, because if he goes on this train it'll be too late. So 2:01 is the latest time, which is option C. Question 11. Question 11. A builder needs 7,600 bricks to build a wall. There are 500 bricks in a load. How many loads must the builder buy? Okay, so 500 bricks in a load. He needs 7,600. How do we get from 500 to 7,600? You have to times it maybe by, I think you need 9. No, not 9. It's more like 12, 14 lots. Let's try 14. See where that gets us. So 14 times 500, or 14 times 5. Let's just see what that does, right? That'll give us 0, 2, and then 0, 1 times 5. So 20. Yeah, that just gives us 70. So 14 would give us 7,000 basically. Right, if you finish that out. So 15 will give us 7,500. That's not enough for 7,600, so we need 16 lots, which means the answer is B. So easiest way to do this is something like bus stop method for 500 over 7,600, or you could just again count up like I did. You find out how many lots of 500 would go into 7,600. And you can do that by sort of removing the zeros from both of these, and that makes it much easier to do the multiplication, right? How many times does 5 go into 76? 15 times gives you 75, right? So you'd need one more as well, which gives you 16. Okay, question 12. The price of one load of 500 bricks is £230. What is the cost in pence of one brick? Okay, so 500 bricks cost £230. This is, some people get confused on how to do questions like this. If 500 bricks is equal to £230, is the easiest way to set up a question like this, right? 500 is equal to 230. You have to find out what 1 is equal to, right? And you have a question mark here. It's a bit like fractions, right? It's a bit like equivalent fractions. Don't get mixed up though. But basically what we're doing is we find out how do we get from 500 to 1, and you apply the same thing to get from here to here, okay? How do you get from 500 to 1? You don't look at minusing or adding, just think about how did you divide or times to get there, right? So I divided 500 by 500 to get to 1. So if I divide 230 by 500, I'll get my missing number. How can I do that? 230 divided by 500? Well, you can think of it as a fraction. So 230 over 500 is the same as saying 230 divided by 500. Now, if you know how to simplify a fraction, you should be able to get a number, right? So if you cancel out the zeros, you'll get 23 over 50. And if you turn this into a mixed fraction, so we're using loads of different skills at this point to answer this one question, but if you turn this into a mixed fraction, sorry, you can't actually turn it into a mixed fraction because it's not improper. What you can do is you can just figure out what this would be in terms of pence, right? So this is going to get a bit confusing. Hopefully you can follow through with me. What we've got here is 23 over 50 in pounds, right? So this fraction in pounds, right? Now what you can do is if you make the bottom, I'm going to try and explain this without making it too confusing. So 23 over 50. If you know how to change this to a decimal, then you could do that, right? So you can do that by basically doing something like this, and then doing the bus stop method, you'll get a decimal. What I'll say is you could just, this is another way of making it into a decimal, right? Or just a number rather than like a fraction. Make this into have 100 at the bottom. So do an equivalent fraction, make this have 100 at the bottom. So you have to times this by 2, times this by 2, that'll give us 46 over 100. Now if you think about that, if you just think about this fraction being 46 over 100 pounds, right, this is a fraction. What you're basically saying is 46p. Because 46 out of the 100 is used, right? So if you think about a pound, 1 pound is 100p. And you're just saying 46 of that 100 is actually being used. So 46 over 100 is 100p. Sorry, 46p. Hopefully that explanation makes sense. Because it's a video, you can always obviously rewind it and try and understand again. 1 pound, you can think of that as 100 over 100p, right? So 1 pound is 100p. Again, any number over itself is 1, right? So that's sort of the idea we've got here. So again, just to recap that, I'm just going to try and do it slowly, just in case you don't understand what's going on here. Hopefully you've understood the first bit, which is basically we've got this idea that 500 bricks is equal to 230 pounds. We have to figure out what 1 brick is. So we divided this by 500, we divided this by 500. That gives us this fraction of basically 230 over 500. Because that's the easiest way to divide this number by 500, right? When we simplify that fraction, we get 23 over 50. And what we can do is we can actually change that to have 100 at the bottom, which will make us 46 over 100. So if you're strong with your fraction skills, you should be completely fine with all of this. And then what you should be able to decipher, right, is this is our answer right here. Obviously the answer in the options doesn't have that. But if you have 100 over 100 pounds, this is the same thing as saying 1 pound, right? So whereas if you say 46 over 100 pounds, same thing as saying 0.46 pound, which is just 46p, right? Which is why our answer here is D. Okay, question 13 now. There are 5 entry gates at open air concert. This bar chart shows how many people went through each gate. How many people went through gate C, then D? How many more people? So gate C, if you count this up, this is 250, right? So 200, 250, 300. Gate C had 250 go through it. Gate D had 100, if you just follow the line. What's the difference between 100 and 250? It is 150. So option E. Question 14, how many gates had fewer than 150 people go through it? So you can see this line is 150, right? Only D and A have fewer than 150, so that would be 2 gates. Calculate 7 over 16 of 288. Okay, so when you see a fraction, and of, you just basically turn it into a times symbol. And a whole number, basically, you can imagine it's got a 1 as its denominator. So 7 times 288 and 16 times 1. That'll give us our answer. So 16 is going to be at the bottom. 7 times 288, and that will be 7288. Let's do that long multiplication. So 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 8 is 56, plus the 5 is 61. And 7 times 2 is 14, add the 6, is 20. So 2016 over 16 is our answer here. And now we just need to simplify it. So think about how many times 16 can go into 2016, and that'll probably give us our answer. So 16 goes into 20 once, that'll give us 4 down here. And then we bring down the 1. How many times does 16 go into 41? Well, if we do 16 times 2, that'll give us 32. If we get the difference here, that gives us 9. We bring the 6 down again. How many times does 16 go into 96? If we 16 times, let's try 16 times 6, that will give us 96. 16 times 6, right, gives you 96. So 6 is basically here, 1, 2, 6, and there you go, there's your answer. Okay, question 16 now. This hexagon has a perimeter of 24 centimeters. 3 of the hexagons are used to make this shape. What is the perimeter of this shape? Alright, so this is a regular hexagon. We know each side is equal. So if we divide 24 by 6, that will give us 4. So we know each side is 4 centimeters, right? So now we can add up. This is 4, this is 4, this is 4, 4, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sides, so 12 times 4, that gives us 48 centimeters. 17. A hotel charges £50 for a room for a single person per night. Then £10 extra for an additional person per night. A large family takes 2 rooms for a night and is charged £150 in total. Okay, so one room is £50. £10 for each additional person per night. So if they're charged £150 for 2 rooms, their base price is obviously £100, right, for the 2 rooms, and then they had 5 extra people, either on either room basically. So because they charge £50 extra, that means obviously £10 extra per person. So there's 5 extra people on top of the 2 separate rooms that they booked. And what they probably did is obviously 1 person in this room, 1 person in this room, and then the 5 got split between the 2. So if you have 2 people added to 5 people, that gives you 7 people, so that's how many people are in the family. Okay, write the 2 missing values to make these equivalent fractions correct. Okay, so equivalent fractions, how do we get from 12 to 3? Well, we divided this by 4. So we do the same to the top, and that'll give us 2. And C would be the answer because it's the only option with 2. But if you think about, if you carry on, we times this by, so if we divide that by 2, divide this by 2, we'll get 6 as well. So 2 and 6 are the missing numbers here. A triangle is translated from position A to position B. Complete the sentence. The triangle has moved, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares to the right, because that's where this dot is. And it's moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares down, which is why the answer here is C. Question 20. Circle 2 numbers that add together to equal 0.25. Alright. I can see it already. So if you add these 2 together, you'll get 0.25. So that would be option B. All the other options don't work. Okay, question 21. A cake shop orders 6 bags of sugar. Each bag of sugar weighs 1.25 kilos. The sugar is used in the ingredients to make a sponge cake. Six bags of sugar. And the ingredients. So each sponge cake contains 90 grams. Okay, how many cakes can be made using 6 bags of sugar? So 6 bags would be that times 6, right? So that means you have 6 kg and also you've got 1.5. So that'll give us 7.5 kg total in the 6 bags. Each sponge cake needs 90 grams of sugar. So if you convert this to grams, this is 7,500 grams, right? And 90 grams is needed by each sponge cake, so we can divide it to figure out how many sponge cakes we can make from that sugar. So how many times is 90 going to 750? I believe it is 8 times. That will give us 720. And if we subtract that, that will give us 30 here. And if we do 300 here, how many times is 90 going to 300? 90 times 3 will give us 270. And that leaves us 30. It gives us 30 less again. And then what we can do, I mean that's basically the remainder. So 83 we can do, and then we've got a 30 remainder, 30 gram remainder, right? So 83 cakes can be made, and then we're left with this. Option B. Okay, question 22. This looks complicated, but I'll try and break it down. So the diagram shows a template of 8 identical circles placed on a rectangular sheet of card. Each corner of the rectangle is at the center of the circle, so that means from here to here, this is the center, right? So that means here to here is going to be the same as here to here, right? What you have to do is work out the shaded area. So most of you will know, if you have to work out the shaded area, all you have to do is figure out the area of this and minus it from the total area of the rectangle, right? So let's figure out the area of the white section. What we need to do is figure out how long this section is. We can see if we add 4 circles together, we get 96 centimeters, right? So 4 circles is equal to 96, right? Or 4C or something like that, right? So what we can do is figure out how long is 1 circle, right? Because that will let us basically figure out all the rest of the details. So you should know that all you have to do here is divide it by 4 to get from here to here. Then we can do the same here, and that will give us 24. So 1 circle has the length of 24, right? Now we can figure out everything else. So you can see the length of the inner section is half a circle. Then you've got 2 circles, and you've got another half a circle. So that means three total circles is the length of this. So 3 times 24, right? That just gives us 72. So that's the length of this. The length of this section is just 1 circle. You can see it's a half and a half, right? Again, if you're thinking about this whole circle, right, this whole diameter is going to be 24, and from here to here is just going to be half of that, so it's going to be 12 plus 12, which is again 24. So basically the length or the width of this rectangle is the same as the width of a circle. Okay, so we've got these two. Let's just figure out very quickly the area that this white section covers. So we get 8, 4 times 7 is 28 as well, and then we get 4, and then 2 times 7 is 14, and then we can add these together. We'll get 12, and that gives us 7 and 1, 1728. That's the area of the white section. Now to find the area of the total, or the big square, big rectangle, obviously it's going to include this section, so that's why we're going to minus it afterwards. But to find the area, we've got 96 already here. We need to figure out the length of this. Well, it's just the length of 2 circles. You can see there's 2 circles in here. So that's going to be 48. So 96 times 48. I've already done this one. I think it's 4068. But you can do long multiplication for that one. 4608, sorry. Okay, and then we just have to minus these two. 4608 minus 1728, and that will give us 2880 as the answer, and you can see option D is the answer there. Okay, question 23. Jamie, Kate and Hassan run a 50-meter race. Kate's time is 13, 5 and 3 seconds. Okay, so Jamie finishes 3 seconds before Kate. So if he's finishing 3 seconds before Kate, that means his time was 10 seconds. And 3 seconds after Jamie is 13. So I'll say 5 seconds, my fault. 5 seconds before Kate is 8 seconds. And 3 seconds after Jamie is 11 seconds. So the answer here is A. Alright, question 24. A white square is painted in one corner of a grey square. Each side of the white square is half the length of a side of the grey square. Half the length, okay. So this is again very similar to this question that we had up here, but just a bit easier in the terms of like less information. So the white square is painted in one corner. Obviously it looks like this is going to be half the length, right? Very similar to what we had earlier. So this is going to be 6 centimeters. This square, right? So 6 by 6. What was the area of the grey section? Well, again, all we have to do is find out the area of this big section, and minus it from the area of the white. So the area of the total square is 12 times 12, which is 144. And the area of this is 6 times 6, which is 36. And then if we minus those two, what we will get is 108, I think. Yeah, 108. Okay, moving on. To question... looks like it's missing a number. Oh no, here it is, question 25. Some children each chose their favourite sport. The chart shows the results. Okay. Which sport was chosen by the most children? Number of boys, number of girls. Okay, so this is going to be 9 girls and 8 boys, right? So probably the one that is chosen by the most is going to be the longest chart, or like has the most spread, right? So 9 plus 8 for tennis is 17, and swimming is quite big as well, which is 10 plus 8, which is 18. It's even bigger. And this one is 6 plus 10, which is 16. The other ones are all smaller, so there's no point really even checking them. Swimming is definitely the biggest one here, so D. Question 26. How many more girls than boys chose basketball? Alright, so 10 girls chose basketball and 3 boys. You can see here, 3 boys chose basketball. So 7 more girls chose basketball, because 10 minus 3 is equal to 7. Anna is going to deliver some goods. She charges £8.50 per hour and 12p per mile for delivery. She writes down her mileage before and after she made the journey. Okay, so you can see mileage is like the number of miles that she's done in her car over the total of the car, right? Since you bought it. So you can see it goes up from 26 to 27,000 something. The journey takes 3 hours and 30 minutes. How much does she charge to deliver these goods? Oh, okay. So she charges £8.50 per hour, and then we have to add this on. So let's figure out £8.50 per hour first. So 3.5 or 3 hours and 30 minutes times £8.50. What will that give us? Well, oh, this is already difficult. So you have to do decimal point. You have to do decimal point multiplying. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 3 is 15. Add the 2 is 17. And keep the decimal point in the same position. So 8 times 5 is 40. And then 8 times 3 is 24. Add the 4. That will give us 28. Now we can finish this off. 5, 7, 9, 2. So 29.75. That's how much it costs her just in terms of hourly wage. And now what we have to do is add on the 12p per mile that she also charges, right? So again, if some of these look daunting, some of these questions look daunting when you first look at them, but when you break it down step by step, they're actually quite simple. So you've got already this one, just by doing multiplication. And now 12p per mile for delivery. So we have to figure out how many miles she did from here to here. So that is, it looks like 26985. So if we add 15 to that, that will get us to 2,700, and then 125 on top of that. The difference between here and here is basically 140 miles. So if you add 140 to 2,685, you'll get to 2,7,125. Just double checking that. If I add 100 to it, or if I add 40 to it, add 15, 5, yep, if I add 40 it'll get to 2,705, and then if you add 100, yeah. So this is the difference, right? This is how many miles she actually did for the delivery. 140 miles. Now we have to times that by 12p per mile and see what we'll get. So let's do 12 times 100, that gives us 120, and 12 times 4 gives us 48, and now we can add those. That's the quickest way to do a multiplication like that, right? So 48, that gives us 168p, which is basically £1.68. So we add £1.68 to the above. Will that give us, let's add 8 plus 5 is 13. 7 plus 6 is 13, 14. 9 plus 1 is 11, and 1 plus 2 is 3. So 3, 1, 4, 3. Decimal point will stay in the same sort of position, like right here, because as you can imagine, 29 added to 1 point something is only going to be 31 point something, not 314, right? So 31.43 is the answer that we've got. Looks like I made a mistake there. That should be 1,200. It should be therefore £10.68. So if I just change that or edit that to say 10.68, and then we can finish off the calculation properly. So what we'll get is 8, and then 6 plus 7 is 13. That gives us 1 here, and that will give us 40. The quickest way to do this is do 12 times 100, which is 12,000. 1,200, sorry, and then do 12 times 40, which will give us 12 times 40, 680. I think, actually no, 480. There we go. Alright, so then we add those together, we get 1,680 p, or basically 16.8 pounds, and what we get from there, so we already had 29.75 pounds was what we had for the delivery, and then 16.80 pounds on top of that, and now we just have to add these together properly. So 5, and 7 plus 8 is 15, and then this is 6, right? So we've got 7, or like 6 plus 1 plus 9, which is basically 16, and then we get 4 here, and 46.55 is our answer, which is A. So question 28, she plants 3 red bulbs for every 4 white bulbs, and she plants 60 red bulbs. So all we need to do is figure out how many times we've got sort of red bulbs. How many red bulbs she planted, like how many lots of 3 red bulbs that she planted, and then we can figure out how many white bulbs she planted, right? So 3 goes into 60 20 times, right? So she did that rotation, right, of red, white, basically 20 times, right? So what you can imagine is she did that the same thing to white bulbs, red, white, right? So if we times 44 by 20, that will give us 80, and that should be our answer. Question 29, Olivia buys 3 packets of nuts. She pays with a £2 coin. This is her change. Okay, so her change is 50 plus 20 plus 20 plus 5, which is 95p. Olivia buys 3 packets of nuts. What is the cost of 1 packet of nuts? Okay, so 3 packets of nuts basically seem to have cost her £1.05, because that's the change that she's got. So if 3 is equal to £1.05, then what is 1 going to be equal to? If we divide this by 3 to get down here, and we divide this by 3 to get down here, easier to do this as 105p, and we can figure out how to divide that by 3. 105p divided by 3 gives us 3 at the top, and we get 9 here, 1, and bring the 5 down, and then 3, 35 basically. So 35p is the price of 1 packet of nuts. So again, this skill of being able to make this sort of equivalent fraction thing seems to be like, it gives you loads of marks. So all you have to do is, if you're given like a lot of something, 3 lots of something, and you have to figure out how much one of it is, basically just look at what's happening from here to here, like how many times do you have to divide it. Well, you divided this by 3, so you do the same thing to the other side and you get this, right? That's the NVR codes for Full Mock 12. Okay, question 1. Again, with these questions, the top letter represents something in this shape right here, and the bottom layer represents something. And what we want to do is look for duplicates in the test, sorry, not the test, but the example shapes, right? I can see there's no duplicates between these letters, right? Actually, there is one. There's J and J. So that means J, there's a similarity between these 2 shapes, which is what J represents. So if we look at them, they're both diamonds, whereas this is a square. So what we can assume is J, or the bottom letter, represents the orientation of this shape, the outside shape, or the rotation, and J means that it's going to be a diamond, whereas K means that it's going to be a square. So this test figure is a diamond, so that means it should have J at the bottom, which means it shouldn't be D or E. Well, what else have we got here? We've got the top letter, which is T, V, U. So they're completely different, so it has to represent something that is completely different in each of these. The size of the plus, or the orientation of the plus, is completely different. So a small plus seems to equal T, a big plus seems to mean V, and a big cross that goes outside of the shape, right, or a big plus that goes outside of the shape, seems to mean U. This one is a medium-sized one, similar to V, so I would lean towards VJ being the answer there. What I will say though, actually, after having looked at it a bit more, I think instead of saying t equals small and v equals medium, etc., a stronger case is that t means the plus sign won't touch the edges of the square, v means that they will, and u means they'll go outside of the edges, right? So here it's actually not touching the edges, so that would have a better case for t, because it's similar to that. So that is probably what the top letter is representing, rather than like small, medium, large, because this isn't exactly the same as what we've got going on here. So I would go with the answer C actually here. Okay, question 2. What have we got here? We've got M and M. What's the similarity between these two? Well, it's the color of the shape in the middle, which is grey. So N probably means white, and grey means M, right? So this is going to be N, because it's got a white shape. And then we've got H, K, J. They've all got different weight, or like thickness of line. And J probably means super thick, and that's the same as this one, so it should be JN, which is option C. Question 3. We've got Z and Z, which is again, color of the shape is white, so X probably means black shape, so this is going to be X, because it's got black shape. Let's look at what else have we got here. E, G, F. The lining of all of the squares is different, so this is dotted, this is straight, and this is dashed. This is straight, so it should be the same as G. So XG, which is option B. Question 4. We've got J and J. It looks like the position of the balls is the same. So we've got 2 circles here, which represents J. And then L would mean 3 circles. So this should be L. We can cancel out these 3. We've got R and R. These seem to mean the number of lines that we've got. So we've got 1 line here, 1 line here. So that's 2 lines for R. S means 4 lines, and Q means 3 lines. So this has got 4 lines, so it should have S at the bottom, which is LS, which is option B. Question 5. What have we got? X and X. What's similar between these two? It looks like the position, it's in the top right of the square. Position of the triangle, X, and Z is top left, and then Y is bottom right. So this is top left, which means it should have Z at the start. And D seems to obviously mean the color, or, yeah, the color, because F means black, and E means grey. If it meant like sort of the orientation or the rotation, then these two would be the same because they're pointing the same way, so it has to mean the color. So F means black, right? So it should leave us with ZF, which is option E. Question 6 now. We've got P and P. That seems to represent the trapezium shape that we've got here, and Q would mean a square, so it should be a Q. What else have we got going on here? Let's cancel out these ones. Then we've got G, F, E. So this is blank. This has got 1 line inside. This has got 2 lines inside. This is blank, so it should mean F, which is QF, option C. Question 7. T and T. So the T and the T likely means dotted lines here. V would mean dashed, and R would mean straight. So this should be straight, which is R. C and C seems to mean black circle. A would mean white circle, and that should give us R, A. Option D is the answer. Question 8. B and B seems to mean grey, whereas A would mean white, so this should have a white. S, V, T, these seem to mean which way it's pointing, because they're all different. That would mean this would have to have S because it's pointing to the right, so SA, which is option A. Question 9, we've got C and C, which are both pointing downwards. Actually, it looks like the size of the shape, whereas A is a bit smaller and B is a bit bigger. This should be B, which is similar to the size of this one. We've got U and U. That seems to mean the color of the shape because they're both grey. W would therefore mean white, sorry. So BW, which is option C. Question 10. We've got M, N, P, O. They're all different. That probably means the shape that we're using, square, pentagon, circle, they're all different, right? So I'd assume this would mean O. We've got G and we've got I and I here. What's the similarity between these two? They've both got two lines over here, 1, 2, 1, 2. So the top letter represents the number of lines, right? So this has got 4, which means it should be G because that's what is coded here. So GO is what we should get, which is option E. NVR question 11. Now we're on to analogy. So this should, it looks like it turns from, this rectangle goes inside and then it gets reflected downwards. So let's put this circle inside and reflect it upwards. I'll just reflect it across the horizontal line, is basically. Because at the bottom I assume it's going to be reflected upwards, similar way, right? So that should have a grey at the bottom, right? These are all wrong shapes or reflected the wrong way. But what happens is the grey one stays in this side, and then it should be a white one at the top, which gives us option E, because that's what happened here. So of question 12, we've got 2 circles and 2 arrows pointing upwards. And the circles move to the inside and the arrows move to the outside. So let's do that for this. Circles inside. Okay, that's done on all of them. It looks like the left circle becomes the highest pointed, and the right circle sort of ducks down. So, ooh, that's going to be difficult. Actually, let's look at something else that changes first. This little section seems to flip upside down, so let's flip this one. That can't be C, D, or E. It has to be A or B. Now, it looks like, again, it's the left side that is moving to the middle and being the tall one. So you think about this is the left if you actually turn your head around, and this is the left side, so that one should be up here, I believe. Hold on. Question 12. So what's happening here is it looks like the trapezium at the bottom flips. So let's flip this trapezium. That should give us either A or B. The other ones don't match that. Okay, so question 12. It looks like the trapezium from here to here flips. So let's flip this trapezium. That should give us either option A or option B, so we can cancel out the rest of these. And then what seems to be happening is these two are switching. So if we look at the positions of these two, they switch. And then the circle here and the triangle here, they actually switch. So actually the tops of these two are switching, which is why this is low and this is high. And these two entire figures are switching, which is why this is small and this is above. Now what we get from that is we should have this and this switching, which should be like this and this, not like A. And then these endings should just swap. So that should give us something like B, which is why the answer here is B. Alright, question 13. We've got a pentagon here. So the pentagon here seems to be reflecting downwards to make a hexagon, and then this circle is becoming a straight line. So let's reflect this to make a diamond, and this rectangle should become dashed because this went from dashed to straight lined, so straight lined to dashed, and that should give us option A. Question 14. The circle here is getting smaller and it's becoming dashed. So the outside shape here, which is the square, should get smaller and become dashed, which crosses out A and C. The triangle in the middle seems to be reflected across a horizontal line and also turned black. So this pentagon should obviously be pointing the other way as well. which leaves us with option D or B. And then finally, this dashed rectangle turns into a straight rectangle. So this dashed hexagon should become a straight hexagon, should still be the same shape, whereas B is not the same shape. You can see it's got these straight lines at the edges, whereas these ones have got the pointy corners. So option D is the answer here. Question 15. It looks like the outside shape is rotated 90 degrees. So let's do that. That should give us a vertical circle here, a vertical oval. And then the shape here is reflected across this line, therefore, and then turned grey, so that we should get something like this with a grey triangle at the top, which is option D. The other ones don't match. Question 16. We've got a square here that the outline becomes a bit thicker. So this circle should have a thicker outline, not like D or E. The triangle should be reflected downwards, reflected or flipped basically. The pentagon is going to be flipped, so it should be pointing upwards. And it should also be grey, because it turns from black to grey in this option. Okay, question 17. This triangle is rotated 90 degrees, so this one should be pointing to the right. All of them are doing that. We've got, so it looks like the outside shapes on the base are turned into this shape, right, the plus. So what we can assume is these stars are going to turn into this sort of hashtag shape. So there should be two hashtags or crosshatches. Now there should be one star in the middle. Actually, I'm not sure about that, but I know this circle definitely stays, right? So this circle should stay, and it should stay white. So we're left with B and D here. Now the difference between these two is that this has got a straight line and this has got a dashed line. You can see the outside of this triangle goes from straight to dashed, so this should actually be dashed, which leaves us with option B. Question 18. This whole shape is rotated 90 degrees to the left, or anti-clockwise. So let's rotate this 90 degrees anti-clockwise. That leaves us with, that leaves us with B, C, or D. Now this shape is brought closer inwards, so you can see there's still a gap. So this should be brought closer, but there should still be a gap. Can't be B because it's randomly got this line at the top. So, and it can't be D because the gap is in the wrong side. The gap should be up here. So that leaves us with C. Again, this line should stay in the same position because this circle stayed in the same position, right? Okay, question 19. This is now reflected across a horizontal, or a vertical line, sorry. And then it's turned a dashed, right? This squiggle is reflected and turned dashed. So let's reflect this squiggle. It should be like this, which leaves us with only options A and E. And it should be dashed, so that's fine. What else happens? Well, this line becomes dashed, and the triangle here is flipped and turned black. So I'm not particularly sure which one of these shapes should be turned black, but I mean both option A and E have got the trapezium turning black. The trapezium should get flipped though if it's turning black, so it can't be E because that's staying the same. So that means it should be A, and also this is turned dashed as well, similar to this. Okay, question 20. The whole shape is rotated clockwise by 90 degrees. So this one will be clockwise 90 degrees. What we seem to have is, once we've rotated it clockwise, I'm just going to imagine where it would be. So there'll be a circle here. There's a plus here. this triangle is here, and this star is here. Now it looks like the star moves from bottom left to top left. So this X should be top left, which leaves us with A, D, or sorry, B or C. It looks like the triangle moves to the right one, so I think this one should move to the right. Again, if you imagine this as a vertical thing. Oh yeah, that's a bad drawing. If you imagine this vertically, you'd have the hexagon here, the sort of arrow here, the X here, and the heart here, right? So I'm just doing the same thing from here. So this obviously moved from here to here, so this will move here to here, which means, what was that? That was the arrow. The arrow should be pointing to the right, or in the right box, sorry. So that's option C. Also, it looks like the hexagon, so this circle went from here down to here. This hexagon should go from here down to here in the bottom right, which is correct. And the rest matches as well, which is basically the plus moves from here all the way to the top. So this heart moves from here to the top, which is exactly what's happened in C. Basically, it's just different movements in this sort of grid that you have to get your head around. So option C is the answer there. Question 21, odd one out. Okay, so we've got black. We've got two whites on the same level, and then you've got two blacks on completely different levels on all of these. So now this is on a dashed line, this is on a line, this is also on a line, these two are both on lines. What it looks like to me is all of these white circles, right, or these white notes, because they look like musical notes, they're always on the right side, in like the exact same position. So if you actually look at option B all the way to E, the white notes are in the exact same position, whereas in A it's in a completely different position. It's actually more to the left. So that is the odd option in question 21A. With this one, we've got 2 circles, 3 circles, 4 circles, 2 and 4. Everything else is exactly the same. Let's look if there's like maybe a line of symmetry on these. So we've got symmetry, 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 and this is not symmetrical down the middle. So I think B would be the odd one out there. Question 23. Now, all of these shapes, if you look at B, C, D and A, again we've got a similar thing here where these flags are all the same, whereas this flag, it looks like a flag symbol to me, is basically reflected, so it's not the same shape, right? So A is the odd one out there. Everything else is just a distraction. And you can look at the sort of wave here, right? They're all the same. This one is completely opposite way. Question 24. We've got 5 plus 3 in terms of sides. So we've got 8 sides here. We've got 6 plus 3, which is 9 sides. This has got 9 sides as well. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 11. Okay, so we've got 11 sides here. So it's nothing to do with the sides, probably. Maybe a number. So we've got 5 and 3. The difference, sorry. So we've got 6 and 3, 4 and 5, 4 and 5. This is 7, I believe, right? Yeah, 7 and 4. Doesn't look like it's anything to do with the numbers. Okay, so this is a bit confusing. Let's try and think of something different. So it looks like the only rule we can get here is all of these are odd numbered shapes. Well, they've got odd numbers of sides, whereas option A has got an even number of sides. So we've got A as the odd one out here. Question 25. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Okay, so we've got 2 arrows pointing towards 4 lines. 1 arrow in 2 lines, 1 arrow, 2 lines, 2 arrows, 4 lines. So the arrow should always be half the number of lines. And then you've got 4 lines and 1 arrow. So option E is the odd one out there. Question 26. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 on the right, 2 on the left. 6 on the right, 2 on the left. This is 3 and 4. This is 4 and 3. This is 3 and 3. Okay, let's see what those add up to. So this is 8, 8, 7, 7 and 6. Right, there's no real pattern there. I would say E has already got, it's the only one with an equal number of lines on each side. So you've got 3 here, 3 here, whereas the rest of them do not have that. Question 27. We've got 3 circles here, 3 black circles, 3 black circles, 3 black circles. Okay. 5 white on all of them, but the whites seem to be in different positions. So you can see here they've got 3 white and then 2 white, 2 white, 3 white, 2 white, 3 white, 2 white, 3 white, 2 white, right? So you can see that pattern in all of them, apart from this one where they've got it in a completely different order. They've got 2 white, 2 white and 1 white. So option C is odd right there. Question 28. Now all of these shapes look exactly the same, so what it's likely doing is it's probably a reflection. So these and these are both rotations of each other. This is also a rotation of it. This is not. This is a reflection, right? And this is a rotation, right? So D is the only one that is a different shape. If you try and rotate this, you can never get this because it's reflected, right? It's like left, right, and straight. Hopefully that makes sense. Whereas the rest of them are like this, and the slant is this way. Okay, question 9. We've got 1, 2, 3, and 2 pluses here. So 3 lines, 2 pluses, 3 lines, 2 pluses, 1 plus, 2 lines, 3 lines, 3 pluses, 4 lines, 3 pluses. So I can see a pattern here. You got 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2. So the lines should always be more than the number of pluses, whereas D has got an even number of both, right? As in they're both the same, 3 and 3. Okay, question 30 now. We've got 2 squares, which are grey, and 1 white circle. It looks like you've got a hexagon at the back. Oh yeah, okay. So all of these, they've got one shape at the back and then 2 shapes on top of it. Now the shape at the back is always a different colour to the shape on top. Question, yeah, so all of these have got a shape at the back, but the shape at the back is always a different colour. So you can see grey, black, black, grey, black, 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 grey, grey, etc. And you can see option A, sorry, has got grey and grey here, which is odd. Okay, question 31 for similarities now. We've got 2 shapes inside, and there's it's basically reflected across the middle line, so you can see this reflection. So it can't be A because this triangle isn't reflected, right? It would have to be pointing the other way. This is not a reflection either. This isn't even a symmetrical shape. If you think about, if you slice this down the middle, if it was actually reflected, it would look something like this, right? Again, if you think about reflections, when you reflect something, you have to go from here, closest point to closest point, right? So that's where the point would be, like this, and this. It would be more like an actual square. Whereas this is not reflected. With this one, this is reflected. The star isn't reflected though. This is wonky. this one looks reflected, and again this isn't a symmetrical shape, so it can't be reflected. So D is the most reflected one, or the most similar to all of these, where they've got a line down the middle and the shapes inside are reflections of each other. Question 32. We've got 4 circles and 5 squares. With this we've got, so there's 4 circles, whereas the outside shape is 5-sided. This number of squares is 5, and then the outside shape is 6-sided. So you can see the number of shapes inside should be 1 less than the number of sides on the outside. Option D here is the only one that matches that, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 inside, right? Question 33. We've got 1, 2, 3 lines inside and a 4-sided shape. Here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines inside and a 4-sided shape. Okay. The main thing here is it looks like actually it's more of a, you split it down the middle and you've got a white triangle and a striped triangle. That's probably a better way to look at this. You've got the same thing here. Now all of these seem to match that, but we have to figure out what else is actually similar. What other rule we've got that sort of lines these up. So I'm thinking maybe the only other thing we can look at is symmetry. And if we look at this line right here, if we're basically to reflect a triangle across this line, we would get this, right? So this is a symmetrical line. Same with this one. Got this line. If we're to reflect it across this right side, we would get a reflecting across here. We should get here, go to here, yeah, and then they would join up, and it would be something like this. Now, like I said above, some of these are not reflections. For example, when you look at this shape from question 31, this one isn't a reflection. Actually, it might have been. I might have been wrong. I think that was a reflection. Actually, the reason question 31 wasn't B was because obviously the circle isn't reflected, right? It would have to be here, right? It's not symmetrical is a better answer. So let's have a look at any of these anyway. This... Now, if we reflected this across this line, it should... Question 33. So we've got this shape, parallelogram right here, and then we've got a circle here, and it looks like the parallelogram is always above it. They're in this like sort of vertical orientation, right? If you always draw a line between it, it's always above it. The orientation doesn't seem to change. It should be the same. It also should be black. I don't think it should be D because it's black, right? You've got the outside circles which have to be one's lined and one's dashed. So it shouldn't be A either because that's both lined. Now, this circle is dashed. It shouldn't be that. This circle, the circle color doesn't seem to matter. Actually, it doesn't have to be black. My apologies. I'm gonna undo. Oh no, actually it doesn't matter. I mean, we cancel out D anyway because it's got 2 dashed lines. What we see is if one is black, one shape is black, the other shape has to be white. So it can't be C either, which leaves us with E, meaning my original sort of thought about this line was actually wrong. The only thing, or the only rule, or the similarity between these is that one shape has to be black, one shape has to be white, and then obviously the lines, one has to be lined and one has to be dashed. So that leaves us with option E. Question 34. We've got a triangle here and two four-sided shapes, which gives us 9, I think that's 11 sides in the middle in total. We've got here 6 and 5, which is also 11. So it looks like shapes in the middle have to add up to 11. This does not add up to 11. This does. This doesn't. This 5, 3, 8 plus 11 plus 4 is 12. This is 4 plus 3, which is 7, plus 6, which is 13. So B is the only one that adds up to 11, which leaves us with the answer B being the most similar. Question 35. We've got this sort of diamond. Black diamond seems to always be present. That's present in all of these options as well. But it shouldn't be overlapping, it doesn't look like. So I don't think D will be the right answer because it's not overlapping in any of these. We've also always got a square and a circle, and it seems that they're either going to be small, right, and separate. If they're separate, they should be different colours, or they're going to be overlapping, right? I'm not seeing anything here. I mean, like, this is a big circle. I could cross it out, but I'm not going to do that just yet. E, they're the same colour. Doesn't match this rule, right? So I'm going to cross out E. We've also got this 5-sided. We've got the outside is a pentagon or a hexagon. So what I'm thinking is if the shape is a pentagon, the square and the circle have to be overlapping, and they have to be white, both of them, right? If it's a hexagon, they should be separate, and they should be separate colours as well. So that's probably sort of like a rule system that we might have going on here. So the hexagon here, we've got separate colours with the square and the circle, that's alright. With the pentagon, we've got this overlapping thing, which is alright. Same thing here. So that rule does apply, but it hasn't allowed us to cross out any other options here. So it looks like the only other rule I can think of is this square and circle, they're the same size, and same with this. So we can assume they have to be the same size, which will allow us to cross out A and C, which gives us B. I think that seems to be the best rule that we've got there. Same sized square and circle. Okay, question 36. We've got overlapping circle, oval, sorry. The oval seems to always overlap with something. D doesn't match that. That seems to be a good rule. We've also got, if it doesn't do that, let's think of something else as well though. 4 and 3, 4 and 5. It looks like the ellipse or the oval always intersects with a four-sided shape here. And there's only one option that does that, which is E, which is probably the best rule that we've got here. So that seems to be the rule. Has to have also a four-sided shape on the outside, because A has got a five-sided shape on the outside, and the circle or the oval has to link or intersect with that rectangle. Okay, question 37. Triangle intersects with this shape. The intersection here creates a three-sided shape. This intersection creates a four-sided shape. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is interesting. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. 1, 2, 3. This intersection, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think it's E because it looks like it's intersecting way too far in. It's going across the entire thing, but let's look for a better rule. We've got 8 sides total here, 8 sides total here. So I think it should be an 8-sided total. This is 9, this is 9, this is 7, and this is 9. So there we go. We've got option A as a similarity there. 8-sided total and an intersection as well. Question 38. We've got, okay, both of these, it looks like they've got one which is like this, so if you think about it, sort of, and the other which is like this. So they're actually two different arrows pointing different ways, but they're just rotated in different ways. So let's see if these two are pointing different ways. No, A, they're both pointing to the left if you actually rotate them, right? Same with B, same with C, and same with E. So D is the only one where it's got two different arrows, which one is pointing clockwise, one is pointing anti-clockwise, or they're both reflections of each other, in other words, right? Question 39, triangle, triangle. Okay, so we've got two triangles and two triangles, black and white. They are always, so these two are pointing down towards the same direction. These two are pointing this way. These are pointing this way. These are pointing this way, right? So here, we've got it like this. I think there should always be two pointing clockwise and two pointing anti-clockwise is what it looks like, is the rule. A doesn't match that. These are all pointing clockwise. So this has got 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all pointing the same direction. Actually, no. Yeah, we've got two pointing clockwise, two anti-clockwise. These are pointing all the same. These are both clockwise. And these are both anti-clockwise. Okay, so it looks like we've got either E or C as the answer here. 2, 1, 2, 2, 2. And this is 1, 2, and 3, 4. Yeah. Okay, now what else have we got in this problem? Let's actually look at the colors of these. So it looks like the white ones here are pointing anti-clockwise. This is white. Yes, the white is always pointing anti-clockwise, whereas the black is always pointing clockwise. So this is clockwise and this is anti, whereas these ones we've got the white and the black pointing in different directions. So that gives us option E as the answer there. Question 40 now. We've got an arrow pointing up, arrow pointing up. So the circle and the plus always on like the left side of the arrow and the right side. So you can see left side arrow, right side. So it shouldn't be A, it shouldn't be B. Circle's on the right again. It shouldn't be C, it shouldn't be D. E is the only option that has the circle on the left of the arrow compared to where it's pointing, right? Okay, that's the end of the NVR section. In these sentences, there are capitals, capital letters, that have had 3 letters removed from the word. So you can see he was always well behaved, and what they've done is they've removed the word away from it. So now it says he was else well behaved, and you have to figure out what is missing here. So let's go into question 1. Our meal was served on large something. So it looks like it's got P, L and S in it. I'm thinking plates, on large plates. So if we put 8 into here, right after the P and the L, it'll give us plates. So B is the answer there. Using the back key for something, the text. Okay, so this is interesting. Use the back key for something, the text. I'm thinking delay is the only one that really fits in, delaying the text. So if we put in lay, so it would be D-E-L-A-I-N-G. That seems to make the most sense. Delaying. Deletting, demanding, defatting, delating. This is the only one that seems to make sense. Use the back key for delaying the text. Okay, we put the board games in the something. So this is very obviously cupboard. I think we can put or into here. OAR. Question 4. Father something the long grass. Mowed is probably the word here. Mowed the long grass. So that would be OEW. That's the answer. E. My brother likes to play something. Okay, this is interesting. Rugby, I'm thinking. So if we put rug at the start of it, we'll get rugby. My brother likes to play rugby. Okay, small something are unstable in rough water. Okay, this one is quite difficult as well. What I like to do is look at some of the options and see if something comes to mind and like what could fit in. So small gittays. Probably going to start with GHI, or maybe even small something are unstable in rough water. What could be unstable in rough water? Question 6. Okay, small something are unstable in water. So really, if we look at A, we can put car in front of this. So if we put car in front of this, it will give us cargoes, which seems to make sense. Small cargoes are unstable in rough water. Question 7. We saw a something shark from the beach. Okay. Well, you could put barking in there, but I don't think that would make any sense, right? So the sentence has to make sense, right? So I don't think barking shark will work. Basking shark, backing shark, baking shark, or barking shark. So I think basking shark would make the most sense there. You can see a basking shark is actually a type of shark, so that definitely makes the most sense there. And you should actually end up with that answer either way, just because barking doesn't make sense and none of the rest of them will fit in, right? Okay, in these questions, put the correct answer in the brackets. In these questions, put the correct answer in the brackets. Basically, what seems to be happening is these questions are all related. So question 8 all the way through to 12 are related to these information. So the dates of birth of the 5 boys are Adam, Graham. Okay, so Graham was born on a Sunday. What day was Stephen born on? Okay, so Graham, 15th of January in 95. So 15th is a Sunday, right? Stephen was born the next month, which is roughly, I think that's 16 days in January left, right? We're going to have to count these one by one. So if we go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So basically we add 6 to it. On the 21st is the next Sunday. And then if we add another 6 to it, it'll be the 27th is the next Sunday. The 15th is Sunday, 21st is Sunday, 27th is Sunday. And then again we go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that means the 31st of January is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is a Thursday. And now we're into February at least. So February, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 3rd of Feb is a Sunday. Alright, okay, and then we can add 6 again. That'll give us 9th is the next Sunday. And then 15th is the next Sunday. And then 21, 21st, and then 27th. So it's a Sunday basically. Okay, so Graham was born on a Sunday on the 15th of January, and Stephen was born on the 27th of February. So what we can do is we can find the difference between these two. So there's 16 extra days in January. There's also 27 days in February that are added on, right? So if we difference between these two is 30, and then we add 6 plus 7, so 43 days, right? Now, obviously, this is a Sunday. If we divide by 7, we'll know when the next sort of like Sunday is, right? So if we think about every 7 days is another Sunday. So let's say 7 times 4. 7 times, let's do 7 times 6. 7 times 6 is 42, right? So 42 days in the future from Graham's birthday is going to be the next Sunday. Now Stephen's birthday is 43 days in the future, so that means it's going to be the day after Sunday, which is Monday. So the answer to question 8 is A. Who is the youngest? This should be pretty easy. It's whoever was born on the latest year, which is Stephen, and also the latest month of that year. So Stephen is the youngest here. Who was born closest to Christmas Day? Okay, so Christmas Day is 25th of December. So January is the closest to December out of all of the other ones, because this is August, this is February, this is like July, I believe, or June, and this is also June. So January is definitely the closest, which is Graham. Okay, in what year will Adam be 21 years old? Okay, so Adam is born in 94. That means if we add 21 years to 94, that means so 95, and then 2005, and then 2015. So in 2005 he will be 10 or 11, sorry, and then 2015 he will be 21. 2015. How old was John on 5601? So 5. Okay. So 93 is when he was born. Basically it's 2001, right? So that is 8 years away from his birthday, and he should be 8 years old by that time, because he just turns 8 on the 5th of, I think that's July. Okay, question 13 now. The above alphabet is there to help you with these questions. Find the next letters in the sequence and write them in the brackets. Okay, so what's happening is there's a sequence from here to here, here to here, here to here, right? So D to E will give us, basically what's happening is D's, if you look at the first letter, it's moving up by 1, and then again, and then again, and then that's what's happening again. So we can basically split it up and look at what's happening from here to here. From F, what's happening to get to H, looks like it's adding by 2, and then same thing from H to J, and probably the same thing from L. So we're going to add 2 to L, that will give us N for the first letter. And for the sequence on the right side, it's going from N backwards to M. So you can see N to M, and then M to L, to M to L, then K to J is going to be the next one, so NJ should be the answer there, option A. Okay, E to H, we added 2 there, and then H to J, we added 2, so it's definitely just a case of adding 2 on all of these, right? M to O, yep, so R we're going to add 2, and that will give us U for the first letter. Actually, hold on, O to R, add 2, yeah, it should give us U for the first letter. And then E to R, sorry, R to N, we're going back by 3, sorry, by like 3 spaces or 4 basically. So N to J is also the same thing, J to F, and then F to B. So B, we're going to go, B went backwards 4 spaces to X, and X is going to go backwards to T. So UT should be the answer here, option C. Question 15. So J turns to H by -2. H turns to F by -2. F turns to D by -2. So this will do -2 as well. And that'll give us B as the first letter. And we can already assume the answer is going to be BQ because it's the only one with B. But let's keep going. E to H, add it by 3. H to K, add by 3. So N added by 3 is going to give us Q. So BQ is the answer there. Okay, question 16. A goes to O. That's a big jump. That's a jump of 3, 6, 9, 12, 14. Okay. So, and then O to Y. That's a much smaller jump, it looks like. So 3, 6, 9, and then 10. So Y to M. That's probably a forward jump as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's 14 again. So what's it's looking like it's probably going to be a 14, add 14, then add 10, then add 14, then add 10, right? If you look at M to W, that's probably another add 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, so the next one is going to be add 14. From W all the way to K, and then add 10 from K to U. Then let's add 14 from U. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it should start with an I. Now what's happening on the second letter is going from L to G. That's backwards by 5. And then G to M, which is forward by 6. And then M to H, which is backwards by 5. And then H to N, which is forward by 6. So it's going backwards 5, then forward 6. So M went to W, sorry, H went to N, which is forward by 6. N to I, which is backward by 5. I forward by 6. So O is going to go backwards by 5 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should give us I. J is the answer, which is option B. Question 17. CL. Okay. So C goes to E by adding 2. And then E goes to H by adding 3. And then H goes to J by adding 2. So then J is going to add by 3, which is going to give you N as the first letter. I believe C to E was add by 2. E to H was add by 3. H to J add by 2, so it should be add by 3. Sorry, M is E thirst. M, it should be the first letter. Okay, and L to N, that goes add by 2. N to P, add by 2. P to R, add by 2. So these are just, this second letter is just getting added by 2. So if we add 2 to R, that will give us T. MT is the answer there, option D. Question 18. H to K. Okay, how do we get from H to K? Let's rub out this thing again. So H gets to K by adding 3. K gets to M by adding 2. And M gets to P by adding 3. And then P is going to add by 2 because we just done 3, 2, 3. Right, so 2, that's going to give us R as the first letter. And then we can already select B because no one else has R. But let's finish it off. X to T is -3. T to Q is -3. And then, okay, so basically this is going to be O -3, which is going to give us Hold on. T to Q is -3. Q to O is -2. Okay, so it's changing. It's going -4, -3, -2, and it's going to be -1, which is going to be N. So RNB. Okay, question 19. BT B, so that's just -1 from B to A, and -3 from A to Y. Right? It's more like -2, sorry. -1, -2, and -3 probably from Y to V. Yep, and then it's going to be -4 from V to R. This is all about sort of understanding what the sequence is probably going to be. So again, you saw -1, -2, -3. This is going to be -4, right? And then we have to figure out T to T. That's just the same, and then T to U. So it was +0, and then it's going to be +1, and then probably +2 next, which is what happens. So U to W is +2, and then W is going to be added by 3 to get this one, right? So +3 will give us A, or RZ, sorry. We added 2 from, where were we? We added 2 from U to get to W. Yeah, so yeah, it'll give us Z. RZ, which is option C. Okay, question 20. A flow is a wild animal. So basically we're adding in these questions, put the correct answer in brackets. One word has been jumbled up. Use a clue to help you rearrange the letters. So this is an anagram basically. The word is jumbled up, and we have to figure out what the actual word is. So a something is a wild animal. Well, if we look at all of the options, wolf makes the most sense. Basically it's swapped around, right? A something is a flower. So a rose is a flower. Something is to change. So alter is to change, or alert is to change. Flat, yeah. Alert is to change, that makes the most sense. 23, boats are safe in something. So we've got harbour. 24, Issy skip is a school subject, so physics. This is the one that makes the most sense, physics. This is spelled right, sorry. A something can be part of a sentence. A shaper can be part of a sentence. A harper or a phrase can be a part of a sentence. There we go. Okay, last section now. In these questions, the word in the middle of the second group is made in the same way as the word in the middle of the first group. Find the word that is missing in the second group. Okay, so aims, laid, load. So basically what's happening here is we're taking letters from each of the words on the sides and putting it into the middle. So we're taking the L from this one, so that means we're going to take the H, right, from here. We took the A probably from here or here. So if we took it from here, then we'd use U here. So let's just go with that. And we got the I from definitely from here, because there's only one I. So that means we're going to have to use this G. And then the D came from this one. That means we'll take the E from here, which will give us huge, option A. Okay. Paste. So we got the P either from here or here. So let's start with C and see if that works. Actually, we're not going to use C because none of the options actually have C. So we're going to assume the P was taken from this one. That means we'll have to start with E. And then we can say the E was either taken from here or here. So that'll be either R or E again. So I'm going to go with R. The A was taken from this or this, so I think it'll be O. And then the C was taken from here, probably. That'll give us D. And the E was taken from here, a road. There you go, option C for that answer. Okay, road. The R was definitely taken from this position. That means we have to use O here. The O was taken from here, so that will be a G that we have to take. The A was taken from here, so it's L. And the D was taken from, this one is the only one that really works, so ogle is the word that we get. I'm just going to check some other ones. Yep, that's the only word that we can get, ogle. And ogle just basically means to like sort of stare in a weird way. So if you're ogling at someone, right? Okay, question 29. Loot. So the L probably came from, so the F came from third position in the right words, that means O we'll use. The L came from either the first or the first on these ones, so we could try either, try P or D. I'm going to try D. I'm going to go with E here because there's no one else that starts with E. O and goes to D. And the U was taken from, or the O was taken from here, U was taken from here, which will give us a U, and then T was taken from the last one, which is odor. Odor, odor. Yeah, so this should say odor. Question 30, so the B here came from the second letter, so it's going to start with R. The E came from the second on here, so R-O. The A comes from here, that means we get this A. And the R comes from, the R comes from the first letter on here, so that should give us raw. So that should be option C. Your paper will probably say raw for option C. Okay, that is the end of the verbal reasoning section for Full Mock 12.